Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Just wanted to give you a really sort of broad and short overview of the structure of the GCSE Edexcel B course for geography. So a bit of insight into the three different papers, what's included, and then focusing in on a little bit of an understanding, if you like, on paper 3 specifically. So the course itself is divided into three key components, and those form the three different papers that you'll sit at the end of year 11. So first paper is looking at global geographical issues. Second paper is looking at UK geographical issues. And then the third paper is looking at people and environmental issues, as well as making a geographical decision. So thinking a little bit like a geographer. Each of those vary in marks, but all take place in a 1 hour and 30 minutes examination. Geographical skills are assessed in all three exams. So that could include things such as cartographic skills, so map skills, it could be statistical skills, it could be photographical, so looking at different types of photographs. Any of those geographical skills can be examined in any of those papers. So make sure as much as possible you're on top of your map skills, your ordnance survey maps, different charts and graphs, and statistical skills as well. The only time that your field work will be assessed is within paper 2. So you'll undertake physical field work and you'll undertake human field work, which will obviously be decided on by the school that you are in. What I would say as well is make sure that you have read up on the specification. So every exam board releases a specification, which is a little bit of a kind of how-to guide and breaks it down. At the time of filming this video, all of this information is correct. However, specifications are reviewed by exam boards at different times. So for example, around about this time last year, completely different exam board, but they changed one of the durations of the paper slightly in response to a previous year's kind of feedback. So I would just give this video that little bit of a caveat, check with your teacher, and also check on the exam board's official website as well. Because like I say, it can at certain points change. So let's look at these three different components then together. So the first paper is looking at global geographical issues. So this is, as it says, an hour and 30 minutes exam, 94 marks in total, and it's worth 37.5% of your final GCSE. So roughly on this paper, you're looking at working to around about a minute a mark, give or take. And it's divided into three different sections, and you'll complete all three of those sections. So section A is looking at hazardous earth. So that's looking at climate change, that's looking at tropical cyclones, it's looking at different types of plate boundary, different hazards, both volcanic and tectonic, and looking at the management of those hazards as well. Section B looks at development dynamics. So that's looking at measures of development, thinking about global inequalities in terms of development, looking at the role of globalisation, looking at how we reduce development and the development gap and things such as that. And then section C looks at the challenges of an urbanising world. So you look at urban change, urban land use, and as well, you'll more than likely have had some form of case study which you've looked at in some form of developing or emerging country that you'll have really done some in-depth research on as well. Again, throughout any of these three sections, geographical skills could be assessed and could be brought up. Looking on to paper 2, component 2, so that's divided into three sections. That looks at, has kind of a UK focus. So section A is the UK's evolving physical landscape. So that's looking at coasts, so coastal landforms, weathering and erosion, coastal management, coastal flooding, hard and soft engineering, coastal environment. Then you will look at rivers, so very similar again, different landscapes, different processes, different landforms, flooding and management and so on in terms of fluvial landscapes. Then for section B, you'll move on to looking at UK urban environments, so where settlements are positioned, the reasons for that, the underlying reasons for that, the UK economy, UK links with the wider world. You might look at different UK-based cities, and again, you'll have these examples which will vary and depend upon your setting that you are within. And then section C is where you are tested on your fieldwork. So there's 2 sections to this. You will need to answer one section for physical fieldwork. So you will have either done physical fieldwork on coasts or rivers. And then the second section will look at, again, human fieldwork, and you will have either looked at an urban area or a rural area as well. Again, that will obviously depend on the school that you are at and the setting that you are in. Exactly the same as paper 1 in terms of 1 hour and 30 minutes. So roughly 1 minute per mark, a total of 94 marks there. And again, 37.5% of your final mark. Paper 3. So paper 3 is the one where you look at people and environmental issues, and then you've got the final part, which is essentially a little bit of thinking like a geographer. It's that decision-making exercise. Within this, you will get, on the day of your exam, when you go into the exam room, you'll be issued with a resource booklet with a whole host of information. What you will notice here is exactly the same amount of time. You've still got 1 hour and 30 minutes. You've got slightly longer per mark, so only 64 marks in total, and it's only worth 25% of your final mark. Now, this is really important. The reason that the marks are slightly less but the time is exactly the same is because that's giving you some time to read that resource booklet. This will be the first time that you will have seen, going into that exam, that resource booklet. So it's really important that you give yourself, within the exam, 10, 15 minutes, depending on how quick, how slow a reader you are, to go through and look at the figures. The figures will be a combination of graphs. There'll be a combination of images. There will be a combination of text, okay? And they will all have been very, very carefully chosen by the examiners to support the questions and the structure of the paper. They're not things that they've just thrown in for the fun of it. There will be some form of relevance to them. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a moment. So in this one, there's 4 different sections, A, B, C, and D. Again, obviously, you will go through and you will answer all of those. So paper 3 is divided into 4 sections. Section A is looking at people in the biosphere. So looking at global ecosystems, human influences on biosphere, the role of biosphere, demand for certain resources within that biosphere, so natural resources. Section B then looks at forests under threat. So you look at tropical rainforests, you look at tiger forests, you look at conservation of both of those, and again, threats to both of those. Section C then is looking at energy resources, so natural fossil fuels, renewable resources, impacts of energy production on the environment, different access to energy, supply and demand of oil, sustainable energy use, the future of energy use, and those sorts of things. Then section C will be a decision-making exercise on any of those 3 previous topics that you have looked at. So it could be that section D is all about protection of different biomes. It could be that section D is all about different types of renewable energy sources. You'll have to make a decision about a particular geographical issue or a geographical dilemma. So you'll be given 3 options to choose from, and there'll be 12 marks available for your answer, as well as 4 marks for spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Now, the issue that you're presented with in section D could be based anywhere in the world, and it could be on any scale. So it could be on a local scale, it could be an international scale. Okay, it will involve elements of both physical and human geography, and it might be that you need to link it to what we call synoptics. So it might be things that you maybe have learned from elsewhere on the course, or it could be that it perhaps presents it in new contexts a little bit. The booklet will include a variety of different sort of stimuli, so maps, graphs, photographs, diagrams, statistics, newspaper articles, quotes from people involved, Okay, and in theory, you'll need to use all of the information in the booklet to help you to make your decision. Okay, um, but don't worry too much about that. What I would do is you go through each booklet, you will basically be given three options. So it will be a geographical dilemma, it might be a statement, it might be a question, and there'll be three options then, and you will essentially choose which option you think is best. When you go through the booklet, for each figure that you are given, I would write down what option it agrees with. Even if you're not going for that particular option, just think, okay, figure 1 supports option A, figure 2 supports option A and B. Because when you then come to do your sort of 12 marker, you will find that much, much easier. So what section D will ask you to do then is to argue your point of view using information, suggesting perhaps how an area could be best managed to meet the needs of everyone involved. So you're going to need to look at different stakeholders and give the arguments for or against. Importantly, and what I've said in a range of other videos that we've done, there is no single right or wrong answer. It's just about how you justify your argument. Critically, you need to thread the information through into your answer from the booklet that you have been given. Okay, so if, for example, you are looking at writing a particular answer, it's really, really important that within that answer, you are saying figure 1, 2, 3, whatever supports this idea, shows me this, tells me this, and this is why I believe this argument, for instance. Okay, whatever your view is, you must give a balanced argument, thinking of potential impacts that are both positive and negative, and think about your different branches of impacts. In economic impacts, political impacts, social impacts, environmental impacts. Okay, those key strands are really, really important there. You might also go on to think about how some of those negative impacts could be reduced. Critically, it's likely to be a complex issue. So think about possible conflicts that your solution might cause to different groups of people, different stakeholders, and how they can be resolved. You do not have to provide a perfect answer or a perfect solution. But critically, it's about trying to showcase to the examiner that you have given consideration for every single potential option or every single potential conflict that may arise as a result. I would say the best thing to do in this scenario is, as you go through reading each figure, go to the back of the paper, look at that decision-making exercise in section D, and for each figure think, right, this supports option 1, this supports option 2. Write it on your resource booklet. That's yours to use. It will make your life so much easier in the long run.